Here we are again for another episode. Actually, our 10th episode.
10.
10 episodes.
Woohoo!
Excuse me as I burp. 10
Oh,
episodes in
well, that's worth
to this,
repeating.
amazing, terrible, wonderful, no good, very bad podcast. Yeah. Uh, something like that.
Yeah,
Right? Is
okay.
that terrible, awful? No, I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
probably get plagiarized or something for anyway.
Well, we won't get plagiarized. We'll
Or
be
we will
plagiarizing.
be played yeah, see, this is why we're having this episode. The whole point of this episode is to start the discussion about writing, songwriting, writing for your church, writing for your community, writing for what's going on in your life. Yep, yep. People
Uh,
don't use
uh,
those things anymore.
wait. Oh,
Yeah.
you don't use a pencil anymore?
No, it's all electronic. You just type it up.
Maybe that's what I've been doing
There's
wrong.
Good grief, there's even computer software now that all you have to do is play and it writes it all out for you. It's ridiculous.
I have been doing
Ridiculous.
it wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well,
So, anyway,
of course, you have to have money in order to get those kinds of things. So,
that's true. That's
yeah,
true. And
this is
if
this is how I write right here, baby.
that's right. That's right. If you haven't figured it out, we have no money.
Yeah.
So,
That's
uh
why that's why we're doing this on a free podcast.
but after our discussion last week, I kicked up the idea that we talk about um, a, a happening, an event, a taking place that occurred. I don't know how to say it. Um, basically, you sat
Okay.
down with. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
Well
Um, you
well,
sat down with my aunt. You and mom actually vacationed with my aunt and uncle a couple of weeks ago, and you sat down with her and said, "Okay, let's do this thing." And you spent a little bit of time, and I'm not going to get into all the details. I want you to share the story, but it birthed a song, um, and so I, I for our listeners who haven't heard the story yet, share the story, and then I'll share some of the impact that it's had for me just in the couple of weeks that it's been in existence and how it came about. And then maybe we can share some practical ways of going about doing the same thing for our listeners.
Okay. Um, well, I had actually I had to go to my second string team on vacation.
Uh oh.
Um, yeah, because while we were traveling over, my wife and I said, okay, you know, the first night we were there, and I said, or after the first day we were there, I said, it's a beautiful place in Kentucky. I never did find the bluegrass, but we were in Kentucky. And it was at a horse farm. It was beautiful. Um, and
Bluegrass.
yeah, um, but but so we're there, and I said, okay, babe, I want you to just tell me, just share with me some of your thoughts about where we're sitting, the facilities, the area. I mean, it rained 3 out of the 5 nights we were there, so in days, so it was not you know overly sunshiny. But just some general things about the place we were and the feelings she was having and so on and so forth. And she was like, okay, I can do that. Crickets. Crickets for 2 days. And so I just thought, I mean, she did talk to me, but not about that particular stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, so
Yeah.
we did converse with one another. So don't get me wrong there. Um, but so she wasn't answering any of those questions yet. So one morning, and I had my guitar out a couple of times, and and just kind of playing around. I was checking the acoustics out. I mean, it was 12-foot ceilings in this building, and it was a brick, and it was square, and it was, yeah. And so I was roaming in the room on where the best acoustic was. It was really cool. Um, and I can tell you, this room is not the best acoustic, especially as compared to where we were. But so this one particular day, I said, okay, Aunt Debo, I said, tell me what you're feeling. Tell me how you're. What are you thinking? What do you when you are perusing the area? Um, we've been here now 4 days, and so what are you thinking? What do you know? And I said, I'll tell you to stop or slow down if I can't write fast enough. And so she just began to share. It was a beautiful meadow. It was um, the the quaint little facility. Um, the skies were, I mean, the beautiful, I mean, the cloud structures were really, but she was just describing a few of the things and what she was feeling and so on. uh, and and she shared about um, the political climate she was fearful of, and she shared about the economic climate she was stressed out about. She has retired, and so there's a difference in someone that still has the availability of creating more income versus a steady income, and so there was a lot of things like that. And then in the process, she's sharing all these things, and I'm writing them down as fast as I can, and then she comes to Donkey's house. And, and so I was just like, okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I wrote Donkey's house down on the page. And I looked at it, I stared at it in a little while, and we had conversation about other things. And she got up, and I moved away, and I came back to it about 30 minutes, 20, 30 minutes later. And uh and I started just looking at the page and thinking, okay, what happens here, and what about this, and so on and so forth. And I'll give you a little snippet here. I'll give you uh, a little aspect of what I came up with. In the meadow, through the forest, over mountain, rings a chorus. All of earth and heaven join the song. Welcome home. So this is where the song started out. Was this great element of all of these things in creation itself says, "Welcome home."
Yeah,
Went through another couple of verse, used several of the pieces of the things that she was afraid of, or not afraid of, but I mean fearful in life, and so on and so forth. And um, and all the while, I kept thinking in this whole process, what is it about this that just says, oh, let me just, can you feel the love? Can you feel a hug when it
right.
comes to it? And I kept thinking of two things. One is the prodigal son, when he finally came to his senses,
Yeah,
and the simplicity of it was, I'm not worthy to go home. I don't deserve to even be on the premises. And yet the story says the father ran to him, wrapped his arms around him, and said, "Welcome home."
yeah,
Um, and the other story that caught my attention was the one that we hear. Um, and this is going to be the Rob paraphrase, the one that we hear about in I believe it's in Revelation, where it says, "Welcome home, good and faithful servant.
Yeah.
You've been faithful with a little thing. You've been faithful with a few things. You've been come and join in what the Father has provided. Come and just come and enjoy. Here's a hug. Welcome home."
Yeah.
And so there's this great idea. Now that was what's going through my head. I played and sang this for Aunt Debo, and she kind of teared up a little bit,
Hmm.
and and she said, "That's that's exactly how that's exactly how I feel." And what I came to find out, and we'd been together for 2 3 days already, and what I had come to find out, and it didn't dawn on me until later on. Rhonda and I did have conversation. Um, was that um, it clicked again? Deb grew up in that particular area of the country,
Ah.
and so she has family in that area. And of course, the further east you go, the smaller the states get, and so you drive an hour, and you've seen three different people, seen
Yeah.
three different family members. You drive an hour in Texas, and you're wondering where the next rest stop is.
Right. Right.
Um, so so the difference is there, but she shared that this was for her. That's what it felt like going back to that area, was this general hug from the area saying, "Welcome home."
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was really kind of cool. I hadn't really thought of it until again, like I said, later on, when Rhonda had made mentions, and I was like, wow, God really took that deeper than what I even anticipated.
Yeah.
um, and of course, then there are some other things. There's more lyric to it, and there is uh, a, a, I think a nice little melody line to go along with it, that helps to kind of bring it all together and gives that idea of, hey, this is just a nice little hug for a weary traveler,
Yeah.
for a lowly pilgrim, for someone who has lost hope. As this is just simply saying, hey, you're not too far gone. Welcome home.
Man, that's
So
good. That is so
anyway,
cool.
so there you have it. That was the story on this one, and kind of the story uh, of how my mind works in some of the things, and it doesn't happen every day. Like I mentioned before, my friend Michael Farron says, man, he's writing tens of songs a year, sometimes 100 or more a year. And so, I mean, his creativity, his mind, is always rolling. It's always moving,
Yeah.
and so there's always a story. There's always something that can be said about what is happening in life, where it's happening, and who it's happening with. So that's kind of how this story came about. It's kind of how this particular song came about, and so there you have it. So, and you'll just have to wait and see what we get to do with it on a YouTube level,
Yeah.
um, and maybe we can get it recorded and sent out. Hoping to do a little bit more of that in the days, weeks to come. Anyway, so, and get some things posted on the Worship Hearts webpage too. So
Sure.
we'll
Sure.
see how it plays out.
Very cool. Very
Pun
cool.
intended.
So that's that was so a couple of things just amazed me about that. The first is obviously how incredible God is in the process
Yeah.
of, okay, let's sit down and talk about what's going on in your head, kind of a thing. And she rattles off a few things, including a donkey house, and you're writing them down and thinking through a few things, and you come back to it, and you know, not to make it sound uh overly simple, but this song is birthed out of just being purposeful about the moment that you were in and the
Yeah.
feelings that she was feeling, uh and focused on the task at hand. um it's a really it's not something that uh I guess I spent a lot of time early on going, man, these people come up with these incredible songs, and God's really speaking through this person and that
Right.
person,
Right.
um, and not realizing that a lot of people like Farron, that's what they do. It's
Yes.
songwriting is just what they do,
Yeah.
and it comes so much easier for some people than it does others.
Yeah.
Um, and for me, songwriting has never been an easy thing. I have dabbled in it a little bit, um, but I always start with the music and see what happens from there. Um, One in particular that you and I talked about before I hit the big red button, "Longing for Your Peace." That song was it was a goofy chord that I figured out that was
But
I
of which I cannot duplicate, by the way.
it's I play a D upside down, so, it's
Oh, because that makes sense.
it well, okay, yeah. Instead of and I'm gonna try and do this without flipping anybody off too on the YouTube channel. Um, Basically, the index finger and ring finger are swapped. When I play a D, the index finger and the index finger and middle finger, excuse me, are swapped. That's it. That's the only change. So what I did for that particular song was I took my middle finger and moved it up one string. That's it. So it gives this open minor feeling kind of strange tone to a D, and I don't know for sure what it is. I'm sure somebody much smarter than me can tell us. But
Well, I called it a D9 because that was the only thing I could figure out, um, when I was looking for it, and when I put it down, and it may not be. It's probably just a D, um, with an E in the base. So, which would make it, you know, um, it's going to make it a seventh chord. So I mean,
yeah,
don't be too afraid of it.
no, no,
Um, but yeah, it does come with its own little nice little, you know, piece of feeling. So,
yeah.
um,
But I just, that one I was just messing around with the chords and picking around on the guitar, and
and
I don't
there you
know,
have it.
out it came. I so to hear the story about, okay, let's sit down and let's write a song, was a foreign idea to me, right? We even tried to mess with it some over Christmas vacation. The Noelle and her family, you and mom and me and mine were all together for a family vacation over Christmas this year, and you were over doing dishes or something, and you're like, "Hey, y'all go right." Like, uh,
What?
okay. And so we messed around a little bit, and nothing really flowed, nothing really developed out of it, and that's okay. Uh,
Right. That's correct. It's okay.
but it was a foreign idea to me, even just to sit down and write. Like, that's the purpose of this scenario, is to write a song. And uh, a lot of songs, I think, um, it, across the music industry, from country music to pop to rap to whatever, Christian music, whatever it is, the songs that tend to do well are the songs that resonate with people.
Absolutely.
Um, because it is a matter of that story, and when the artist can articulate that story in such a way that it becomes the listener's story as well,
Yes.
it has a tremendous impact. But a lot of those artists, when they're writing, are writing from the heart. They're writing from their experience. Um,
Yeah.
you know, from Eminem to Queen to Chris Tomlin, it's it's what they do,
Yeah.
and it is some of the lyrics are a little cleaner than others, obviously, uh, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
no less from the heart. It's no less this story sharing, heartfelt. Um, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm dealing with. This is what I'm celebrating. This is why I'm excited. Whatever the
Yes.
case is,
Yeah.
and those tend to be the songs that resonate most with people. Are the ones that are stories,
Yeah.
and shared from the heart. So I feel like I've rabbit trailed a little bit in that process, but uh,
And that's and sometimes that's where some of your best creativity comes from, and so don't ever dismiss the idea. It's one of the things that I really, again, the compassion and passion of where I'm at these days, and it was really kind of, you talk about the ready weekends. It's been kind of oh, in the back of my head for about 6 years, and developing and trying to put it together. Songwriting, I never really considered myself a songwriter, until uh, I would sit down. God give me a thought or an idea, or a melody or something, and I would just, like I've said before, just kind of throw up on the page and put it down so that I can capture it. I use my phone to capture the melody line, or the chord progression or something like that. When I'm away from my guitar, but there's just a lot of aspects, and that time over Christmas holiday, um, when it was a directive from your father, um, go and write, between you and Noel, and with you and Noel. And it was this idea of just saying, hey, not necessarily, hey, you have to come up with something, as much as it was, open up your mind a little bit, open up your ears a little bit, open up your heart a little bit, and see what something is saying to you. And can you say it differently? Can you say it potentially better, or
yeah,
should I say more effectively? Um, what can be said in fewer words and still get the point across? Some songs, you mentioned Queen a little bit ago, and I'm thinking Bohemian Rhapsody. Does anybody have a clue? Really? Does anybody have a clue as to what that song is about? No, no. I mean, obviously the artists do, and I'm not making fun of them, but because the genius of the creativity,
yeah,
whether you agree with the person or not, or the group or not, is the genius of the creativity, that, and I'm going to say it, that God has put in each of us.
yeah,
And what we do with that, this is, in my opinion, this is the parable of the talents.
yeah,
Some he gave five, some he gave three, some or two, and then somebody he gave, to one. And so, what are you doing with it? Are you risking putting your talents to work, with the possibility that you may fail? Or are you so scared of the master that you come back, that the one talent you do have, you want to make sure that you hold on to it tightly, so when he comes back, you can give it back to him.
yeah,
When in all actuality, that is not why he gave it to you.
yeah,
He wants you to do something with it, even if you fail, even if you break it, even if you, uh, you know, mess it up. So I don't know how else to explain it. God has given us all a creative bone in our body somewhere. We just get to find it. We have to find it
Right.
and what it is that we do with that and the purpose and so on. So it's a lot of fun. I always knew that I was a creative. Never really considered, like I said, in songwriting element, but my brain does things weird. I was sitting down talking with a pastor friend of mine today, taking him to the airport, and and we were discussing how our brains work, and he was describing my brain to a T. We do a lot of things the same way,
Yeah.
and I said, "That's creativity." He says, "Well, I think it's really ADHD," but however you spell it,
Hey,
it's okay.
right. Yeah.
so, so, but the idea is God, God has given us these opportunities, and so what are we doing with those opportunities? Are we using them for His glory, or are we using them for our own selfish purposes? And that's that again. That there comes that passion out for me to write songs, and it's the stuff that has been written. I've had a couple of pieces go out into music land, and never to be seen again. Seems like, but they're not mine to keep. The
Yeah.
the idea is, if God has given it to me, I'm going to share it, and I want to share it. And the same thing with this one. God hugged me a long time ago, so the least I can do is hug someone else. So welcome home. There's a lot of other puns I could use in the process. There's a lot of other things that I could use. There's a lot of other song names that I have here. Blessed Hallelujah with I think I've touched on this before in a previous episode about a gentleman who was physically deteriorating and deteriorating quickly,
Yeah.
but he could not help but praise the Lord and couldn't help but share the good news of Jesus Christ. Um, and then there's the simplicity of it is, I wrote another one called Taken, and the simplicity of that one is, um, I'm taken, um, but not how you think. So there's a twist on that one. That one may show up in Music Land someday too, but um, uh, you know, there's another one that I threw together. It was basically a teasing my wife a little bit, and I'll share a little bit of the lyric with you on this one, um, because it's got a great little hook, um, and it says, "Honey, I know that you know that chocolate chip is my favorite kind, and honey, I know that your name is not Duncan Hines, but honey, I know you're the best. You try your best to learn from Rachel Ray, but honey, I know that you can't fry a crab souffle." And so the idea behind this little song is, I know that the best thing you do is not baking. Cooking is not your forte, but that's okay because you make love worth making. And that's why I didn't marry you, because you cook good. You know,
Yeah.
So, and then the song goes on and teases me. It reverses back, and the song kind of teases me about not being able to fix things around the house. So, um, but the whole idea there too still is, it's not about um, what we can and can't do. It just simply is about the love that we have for each other. So,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of fun little things that you can do with the creativity that God has given, and
Absolutely.
that's the very least that I can do. and
Absolutely.
and there's a lot of songs we've written for, Sing Praise is one that our people like. I did a rewrite of a couple of hymns, which is a great opportunity to bring a lot of different um, generations together for the sake of praising God. Um, so, "Be Thou My Vision" is a great hymn of the church, and yet there is some lyric content in there that might be and could be uh, more easily understood if it were in a vernacular sense, if it were in today's language. And so the simplicity of it is that's what I did. I rearranged some of the words, rearranged, kind of changed the structure of it, the timing structure, and things like that, and then wrote a little chorus about how holy God is. So, there's lots of ways, lots of different things that we can do that as long as we're using our gifts and the talents that He's given for His purpose and glory. So,
Absolutely. Very cool. I do have a couple of questions that I want to ask, but I'm going to save them because for two reasons. One is I want to hear from our listeners and viewers. What are some questions you have about songwriting? What are some questions that you have about where to get started, or what sort of resources, or what do I need to do, or any of those types of things? Reach out to us. You can leave a comment right here on the YouTube uh, video. You can shoot us an email at messageworshiphearts@gmail.com. Um, you can, I think those are the two main ways to get a hold of us
yeah,
right now. But any of those questions that you have about, hey, I have this idea, but I don't know what to do with it, or hey, I've got this cool lick on the guitar, but I don't know what to do with it, or how do I figure out, a melody for this, or whatever the case is, shoot us an email, drop us a comment, and let us know. And maybe there's something that we can do to help in the process, or at least point you in a direction
absolutely.
that might get you going. Um, and that's a part of what we wanna be. That's what a
Yeah.
part of what Worship Hearts is, helping people, uh, in the process of worshiping together,
Yeah.
and specifically at their local church and writing for their local church.
Yeah.
I know specifically, Dad, that's one of uh, your passions is meeting with people where they're at so that they
Mhm.
can write for the people that they're with.
Yes.
And that's a cool dynamic as well. But the other reason I'm gonna save my questions are because I think we can make a whole nother episode out of a few questions that I have, and
Absolutely.
I
Let's
don't want
do
to
it.
drag this one on too long. So part two will be coming soon.
Yeah.
I think you and I are going to be together this coming weekend, so we might be able to lay down another episode or two that way. But yeah, thank you for sharing that story, especially,
Absolutely.
and for sharing that song. And we look forward to hearing more of that for sure. Um, if you would do us a huge favor, follow us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, hit the notification bell, and like this video. Drop us a comment. If you have a song and don't know what to do with it, shoot us an email, or leave us a comment. Any of your questions that you have surrounding writing music or promoting it or whatever the case is, we would love to help you in that process. And maybe we can get together and write some music together even at some point. So
Absolutely.
uh,
Collaboration is a great way of being able to get a good feedback from your peers and from friends and family,
absolutely.
and then there are lots of resources that are out there that will help you even develop better what you do as a songwriter and as
Yeah,
a poet.
very cool. Very cool. Thank you so much for being with us today, this evening, whenever you're watching this. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We will see y'all in the next one.
Bye now.